It's so nice to meet you. I'm a
It's great to
huge
meet you too,
fan of
Megan.
Ted Lasso. Actually, I was drinking
Oh,
out of my Ted Lasso mug of coffee today.
very
um,
nice.
yeah, and you're just so great. And my first question is, you were the sweetheart of season one. Um, and like, what was it like going from this being that sweetheart to being kind of the not the villain, but you have this dark turn in season two. What was that like?
Goodness, it was. I mean, on the one hand, it was really fun because it was quite challenging, and I'd never really got to play kind of like a mean baddie kind of guy in anything else that I've done. So that felt quite fun to relish that as an actor. But then I don't know, there was part of me, I had so much fun on season one because Nate could be the kind of quiet introvert who was quite, I guess if I have a comfort zone, it's in doing quite awkward, quite quiet comedy. And that sort of, I could sort of thrive on that as Nate because that's who he was. So for him to undergo this quite dramatic heel turn, I guess there was less room for jokes in it. Ultimately, in season two, there was less fun to be had. I mean, it was fun overall; it was really fun. But in terms of the character, there was less kind of room for humor as much as there was in season one. So it was different in that respect.
Although you do have that great part where you're getting fitted for the suit and
Yeah.
like that great or like where they're like saying how's his crotch and he's just like that
Oh yeah, that's incredibly awkward. Yeah, that's
was so funny. And we see from the beginning, like I never thought your character would go where he goes this season, but I guess like looking back on it when he's mean to Will in the
mm.
beginning, maybe that's like a sign of it. But I at the time thought maybe it was just, trying to like haze him a little bit. But why do you think he's mean to Will in the beginning?
I think the problem with Nate is that he's sort of doing everything that was done to him. So I mean, ultimately, I think it stems from a toxic relationship with his dad.
Yeah.
He feels that he can never quite do the right thing, and he's constantly been the underdog. In season one, apart from when he gets promoted. That's why I guess that ending to season two is so, I guess, dramatic for him because Ted is the one person in his life who kind of champions him, and it's as a result of his interactions with Ted that he becomes a coach, that he gets promoted. But I think he's mean to Will because he almost sees it as his almost like a duty. Oh well, this was the position that I was, and I was effectively bullied and harassed in this position, so that's what I do to you. I don't know if he's. I don't think it, certainly in the first instance, I don't think he's been sort of malicious about it. I think he just almost sees it as a rite of passage. It's completely wrong, and I'm not condoning the behavior,
Right.
but I think that that's how he sees it. That was once him, and that's how people treated him. So that's he's just up another rung of the ladder. So that's where he finds himself.
That's so interesting. Another thing that I realized too is that you and so Nate and Sam are both mad at Ted this at points this season, but you
Mm,
both take different paths. And why
mm.
why do you think that is? Like, Sam kind of resolves it quickly, but Nate doesn't. And I wanted to know, what does that say about your character?
Well, I think the difference is that I think Nate is a lot more lost than Sam. I don't think that Nate has the support network, whether it be friends or family, around him to, I guess, to keep him in check. When he does, have an issue. I mean, Sam is able to kind of resolve it in the best possible way, which is kind of wonderful to see. And like you say, Nate sort of has the opposite tact. He sort of seizes up and he allows it to sort of fester and seethe, and it makes him um, paranoid and self-conscious. And at that point, which I guess is sort of midway through season two, he just sort of starts lashing out in all the wrong directions and lashing out at Colin, and he's then inappropriate with June, with Keeley, and it's so he. I think it's because he lacks any kind of real love. I mean, I guess some love and attention from his mum, but even that he sort of feels, I think, a bit mollycoddled. And because Ted was this father figure, basically, and now he feels abandoned. He's just sort of bereft, but suddenly he has all these newfound responsibilities, and so he's just getting it wrong, isn't it? He's just sort of, turning to all the wrong people, and Rupert kind of sort of seeing that vulnerability maybe and exploiting it, taking an opportune moment is quite horrible. But yeah, it's where his story has taken him. So yeah.
it's heartbreaking. Like he's somebody to me that you just want to give him a hug. You just want to be like, oh no, don't do this. Like, and I think about when he spits in the mirror when he gets
Mm.
mad. Like, where does that come from? And was it hard like filming those scenes where you get to that point where you take this character that is so like sweet and you just want to help and then you take him to these dark places?
Uh, it was difficult in that it was, I've never had to do that before.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Either,
like, where did I even come from too? Like that.
either in like real life or acting or anything. So it was in the script. It wasn't like like an improvised thing or anything. I forget the absolute sort of origins of it. I know that either Jason or Joe Kelly or maybe even Brendan, a friend of theirs or an acquaintance, they'd seen it happen in real life as a
Really?
way of someone kind of trying to psych themselves up. But it obviously, it's very strange because it's almost like metaphorically speaking, he's almost sort of spitting on himself because he's spitting in a mirror. I mean, it's odd, and I think that they liked the oddness of it and the insecurity of it, and it fitted really well with Nate's journey. And I can't remember how many times he does it in season 2.
Yeah,
I
I
think
feel like he does it a couple
two or three.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least 2 times. And so it was a weird thing, and then particularly just practically filming it because we're filming during COVID and stuff. So it was really,
Right.
it was every time we did a take, it's like, right, everyone step away, huge wipe down with antibacterial stuff. So it was just generally unpleasant, but yeah, it had the desired effect, I think. But yeah.
Wow. I didn't even think of that. That's so interesting. Um, he also, there's so many scenes where, like I said, I just want to like give him a hug or I cringe or something when he makes the pass at Keely and he kisses her. Um, where does that come? Like, why do you think he's always had a thing for Keely, or do you think it's because she's there? Is it because she's sweet? Like, what do you think? Like, what was that the thought process there, or maybe there was no thought process?
Well, yeah, it's pretty difficult, that scene, because he really crosses a mark there, and it's very inappropriate. And it's seeded in season 1 that he does have a soft spot for Keely. I think again, it's him completely misinterpreting someone genuinely just trying to help him. Keely is so kind of wonderfully kind of innocent in the moment, and she's just genuinely there for him as a friend, and he completely mistakes it for the wrong thing. And it is also because he's completely inexperienced with women or just relationships in general, so he massively oversteps a mark and effectively ruins that relationship that they had, which was quite unique. And he didn't really have a relationship like that with anyone else, and particularly in that season. And she could have been the one person who could effectively have been his sort of Ted figure, but he absolutely just he just ruins it in that moment by going in for the kiss. And I think also at that point, I think is it episode 11 that happens. At that point he's really on the path of just paranoia, turning on everyone. And I think there's an element of him trying to sort of get one over on Roy, even because Roy's also been made a coach earlier on, and he feels that's kind of slightly ousted his position. And he's that horrible kind of one-upmanship, and it doesn't suit him. Because it's not, I hope it's not who he is, but he's absolutely kind of playing that game, and it's with kind of quite horrid consequences.
And I love when he tells Roy, I kissed Keely, and Roy's like, oh yeah, I know. Like there's like that devastation there. And like I almost wonder, is he more like did he even really want, what did he want from that moment with Keely? Or was he more just like, I'm gonna do this because I'm a man? Like it's so interesting to me.
No, it is interesting. I think it's mixed. I think on the one hand, I think generally he did have a soft spot for Keely,
Yeah.
and he knows that their relationship has been rocky. Keely and Roy's relationship has been rocky, but and I think part of him just does it in the heat of the moment. I don't think that he kind of set out to kind of, I think you can tell in that scene that it comes out the blue for him, because the scene becomes, I guess, quite intimate because she's kind of confessing to him, but he oversteps the mark. And I think what's kind of quite horrible about his reaction afterwards is that he is so self-involved by that point, Nate, that he takes issue with the fact, rather than kind of realize that he's massively overstepped the mark with Keely. He's more concerned about why Roy isn't annoyed with him, which is a really horrid kind of alpha male macho thing. You know, it's almost like he doesn't feel worthy. He wants Roy to be angry with him because it will give him some kind of self-worth, rather than kind of caring for the fact that he's massively overstepped the mark with Keeley. And so it's quite a toxic place that he's ended up by then. And it's no doubt that is episode 12 when Roy says that to him at the start of episode 12. I think he says, oh yeah, I know about it. But yeah, it's quite powerful stuff, that, because I think it just says a lot about where he is at that point.
Yeah, I just love what they do with your character, because I think he could be just this supporting character who's lovable and stuff, and he's still lovable, but he's hurting. And I think that and he's going through this journey, and I think that it's great. And I love the conversation he has, that intense conversation in Ted's office in the finale, where he just kind of unleashes everything. And I rewatched it and I thought, I don't know if he believes everything that he says to Ted. And I wondered if you thought that. And I also wondered if this was is this a good thing for him to be finally finding his voice and being able to say what he wants to say?
That's a really good question. I think it is. I don't know. I think it is important that he finally, you know, there's this building sort of pressure inside him, and it offers some kind of release. And I think it is good that he again, I'm not condoning the specifics of what he says, because he's really mean. You know, you know, when he says about, you need to go back and be with your son, and he's really rude to Ted in that moment. But oddly, as hurt as Ted is by that, I think, and I've said this before, but I think Nate is the most vulnerable person in that conversation. You can just see what it's taken for him to sort of speak out, and as nasty as the things that he's saying, I think you can just see that he's just broken inside. I mean, he's absolutely broken, and that's why it's kind of almost got to this point that he is speaking out. I mean, whether is it a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, it stops him from seething, and obviously it's a catalyst for him to just go to West Ham. But I don't know. I mean, you have to wait and see season 3.
I know, right? I can't wait.
We're obviously midway through this journey, so I'm kind of limited in what I can sort of talk about. But in terms of, I guess, you know, I knew that conversation was coming, and in fact, I knew way before, even in season 1, that season 2 we were effectively kind of building towards this kind of clash between Ted and Nate. So it did feel oddly quite cathartic to at least have filmed it and done it, because as difficult as I found it, it was just like, well, this is sort of what it has been building for in Nate's mind. You know, all those things that he's been wanting to say, you know, which are really just aimed at his dad, really. But he's just, at least he's getting to sort of just say them. And, you know, Ted is obviously deeply shocked by it all. And to be continued.
I was gonna say, I noticed your hair is darker than it was at the end of. Does that have anything to do with filming season 3?
Well, no, because it's a when we get to the end of season 2, it's a wig, and so, you know, you know, I have flecks of grey in my real hair, and they did dye it progressively grey in season 2, but it ends up being a wig. So, you know, this is just my normal hair.
I was sure,
that's not a spoiler or anything. No. Yeah. That's great. And I think once you go grey, I don't think you can naturally go back to being, you know, black hair or whatever. I don't think so, unless you dye it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I just love I love Megan. The show. I love your work. I love your character. I just, you know, really care about him. I want him to find his way.
That's so kind. Thank you. Well, keep watching.
I will, of course.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.